Good morning, everyone. This is the Otter County Board of Commissioners meeting for December 16th, 2025. I'm going to call this meeting to order and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would ask that if you have electronic devices that make noise, you silence them or turn them off. Would be greatly appreciated. With that, we have before us a proposed agenda. Hannah, do you have additions or corrections?
Yes, I have two additions. So first is under general discussion. We are going to add a resolution to accept solar grants, plural grants. And then under economic growth committee, we are going to add Northeast Otter Tail Ash Expansion EAW.
I would like to put another one on that one.
Okay.
Let's talk about highway trucking
Highway trucking
in my.
under economic growth community investment, Commissioner Buckles. Okay.
Sent an email on that EAW, right?
Yeah.
And does engineer Teich need to be here for that? For highway trucking?
Well, I talked to Nick already.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Any other additions or corrections or changes to the main agenda? With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve as we've amended the agenda.
So move.
Mortensen moves. Buckles seconds. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have the consent agenda before us. Is there any item someone would like to pull off the consent agenda for further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull item 6 off of the agenda, human services contracts.
Okay, so we will remove item 6. Would anyone like to remove any other from the consent agenda? Then I would entertain a motion to approve all items on the consent except for item 6.
So moved. I'll second.
All right, so Lahman moves, Sullivan seconds. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Human services contract for further discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's a couple very large contracts for approval on this agenda, and I'd just like to take a little time to discuss some of the reporting that we receive on them. I think it's important for the taxpayer to understand just what they're getting for the dollars that we're spending. So I asked Lynn to maybe step up here and share some of the information on what how we hold them accountable.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Morning, thank you.
Lynn Penke-Valdez, Deputy Administrator for Health and Wellness. Our Human Services Director, Deb Sjostrom, is not available this morning. She will be here later today following a personal appointment. So I know one of the questions you had asked me about, Commissioner Sullivan, was the Lutheran Social Services contract.
Yep.
And there are staff in the room as well who can help answer more detailed questions around the programming and services that are offered there. But just to give you a better sense of which services we receive for that are through that contract. And that contract, by the way, serves human services in terms of child protection and child welfare. It serves probation. It serves children mental health and all of our contracted case management that we do with other staff who are not employed by Otter Tail County. So there are a broad range of clients and families that are served by services that include intensive in-home therapy, what we call SIBS, and SIBS stands for Collaborative Intensive Bridging Services. These are services that are intended to prevent out-of-home placement. So think about your most intensive level of service by highly trained professionals who are going out to a family's home several times a week and spending time with a family. The difference between taking a child to therapy, which may be individual for a child or include the family, this is going into the home, an entirely different setting and where outcomes have shown to be significantly greater, more effective and quality in terms of the outcomes you can get by working with an entire family. Those services are costly. We do have a contract that it is an annual contract and they bill us monthly for that. What we know through our conversations with Lutheran Social Services and Lakeland Mental Health Center, which is the other one on the consent agenda, which is a large dollar amount, is that the fee for service rate that they may have with others does not cover the costs of the professionals that do this work. So we have negotiated over the course of time a contract amount that is a not to exceed amount. With regards to performance measures and outcomes, outcomes are tough and tricky to measure, and outcomes would be different for each child, each family, each program, and how they, for lack of a better term, entered our system. If they entered our system voluntarily or involuntarily, depending on what is written into a case plan by a case manager, those outcomes will look different in what we expect them to be. But in terms of outputs, those key performance indicators that are expected through the majority of our contract, we receive regular reports. Sometimes they're proactively sent to us. Sometimes we request them. On some contracts, they are quarterly, others they are monthly, where we receive what I would call in, my Gen X vocabulary, statistics around how many we're serving, how many hours of service they received, what goals have been set and identified in their case plan and whether or not they have met those goals, what phase of a plan they might be in. For some of these services, there are tiers or phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. If a child, it is our intention to keep them out of placement, yet they go into placement, that would be a second phase for some programming. And then the third phase would be when they come home out of placement, reintegration with the family.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, that was the gist of my question. Is what I want to make sure is, and I'm assuming this happened. This is not a critique on Lutheran Social Services or any of these other contracts. I just want to make sure the taxpayer understands that we have people looking at these contracts, looking at the results, analyzing the performance, measuring outcomes, and those sorts of things. It sounds like you're on top of that, for lack of a better word. So thank you for presenting that. I appreciate that. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
The only other thing I would share, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sullivan, as you and I had discussed and what we've discussed with our broader health and wellness team, is our intention in the new year to really lay all of this work out across a calendar year and be able to present to you on different topics, different services proactively. So you have that information as we're preparing for the budget season and as we're preparing for implementation of the act, which, by the way, these services, I would imagine, are going to be even more highly solicited as we work to keep children in families and out of placement.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and again, thank you very much. It's really about the cost versus benefit analysis that we need to do. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, we are committed to continuous improvement and we are constantly working on refining our processes internally for how we write contracts, how we review them, when we meet with providers. So you can expect that we will not stop continuing to improve.
Good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Mortensen.
Ms. Becky Valdez referenced the act and the implications. I think both intensive in-home services and also family-based services, the need for that will increase with the requirements of the acts. Both of the goals, or both of those include goals of preventing out-of-home placement. The act itself is a shift of prevention as opposed to reaction in our child welfare system. So I would anticipate that need to elevate as we move forward.
And then along with that, I would anticipate that the cost of these contracts will go up because of the intensive services. I think that's a reasonable assumption.
If there's more demand for
Right,
those,
that's
yes,
what, yeah.
directly impact costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I may, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
Commissioners, that is an issue for the broader ecosystem
Right.
of mental health. How do you recruit? How do you retain? How do you make sure they're credentialed, that they've got the right, we have contracts in here for supervision, depending on what your level of licensure is and what your credentials are. It can get complicated, and there is certainly a desperate need in greater Minnesota across the entire continuum of care for more services.
And those were conversations when we were at AMC last week with other commissioners, was we don't have the professionals to perform we don't have enough professionals to perform some of these efforts. Where are we going to get them? How are we going to recruit them? Those kinds of things was conversation we held down there as well. So interesting times to come. Thank you, Ms. Valdez. Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
You're good. Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to approve these contracts.
So moved.
Sullivan moves.
Second.
He got it. Arm wrestle over the second, but we'll give it to Mortensen. Further discussion? Thank you for your reporting.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public Health Director Jody Lien. Good morning, Jody.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. I'm here this morning to provide some updates and ask for a couple of action items regarding the Prairie Lakes Community Health Board. As you're aware, we are entering into our new multi-county community health board effective January 1st, alongside with Wilkin County. In your packet today, the first information you have is just a brief overview from our last meeting, some of the highlights of actions and discussions that were held with that board. One of the key highlights is at the onset of this planning and working together to build the community health board, we built out a charter to really make sure we got to the end of the year and accomplished all the things that we had identified. And I'm happy to report that we had a really good snow globe on this one and projected well and really followed through with our charter in regards to setting up the metrics, the asks, the things we wanted to see changed in our new health board. So that was really something good to celebrate in our planning board meeting, just to recognize that work. Some of the items that we'll talk about today include the board membership update. I'll be presenting here in a little bit in regards to an at-large community member to represent Otter County on that board. Additionally, we had gone out for an RFP for a medical consultant. Historically, each county public health department had their own medical consultant. Our new board wanted to do that as a joint venture and share a medical consultant. So we went out for RFP. We had one respondent, Lake Region Healthcare, so we're working with them in regards to what does a contract look like, and moving that way forward to participate more regularly on our board as well, and support us that way. Another thing that we visited about and just heard you mention earlier as well was key performance indicators. So how do we know that this board is successful as we head into 2026? What are the things that the board would like to measure to assure for that? And so some of the topic areas, I introduced several options and said, let's just pick 2 or 3, a handful to track just to make sure what's important to you as the board. And you can see the board is interested in monitoring staff and board satisfaction with how things are going throughout the year, staff retention rate, cross-county staff meetings held just to assure that we're really integrating and having conversations around our shared services, and then on-time grant reporting submissions. So just making sure, again, that financially we're doing the things that we need to do to draw down the funds to support the local public health programs. We did approve a logo. We'll be doing some communications and external pieces just to get the community familiar with. And so you can see on page 2 of that handout, there's just a couple drafts of the vertical and horizontal framing of what the Prairie Lakes Community Health Services logo will look like. So when the community is being served, they know who it is and serving Otter and Wilkin counties for public health programming. Beyond that, we did review some meeting dates. I think we're meeting 7 or 8 times next year. Our first meeting will be on January 7th with the full annual board meeting calendar, as you're familiar with just from the county board. We'll do lots of resolutions and topics to get ourselves started for the year. So it was a great meeting. I feel like we're launching into the new year with really strong partnership and strong excitement from the board moving forward. Any questions or comments? I know Commissioner Buchholz was able to participate in the meeting that day before we move on.
A lot of getting our set for next 2026 on that activity. Everything with a lot of agreement, even over our new sign. You know, that's pretty important stuff here. You know, how we're gonna do that, and but very, very quick, informative meeting. Did a good job.
Good. Good job.
Right.
Questions from the board?
No, a lot of work. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to compliment Jody and staff. There has been a lot of team members putting this thing together and getting it ready for January 1. We're 14 days, 15 days away. Frankly, there was times that I wondered if we were going to get it done. But they leaned in and worked really hard, and I appreciate all of the efforts that were done by everybody, Wilkin County, Otter County staff, in order to put this thing together. So I think it'll be great moving forward.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I thank you for the support for the contract. We were able to contract with an outside vendor, RNC Consulting, Renee Froundings, and she was also very instrumental for doing this work offsite for me and following up on some things and doing some research for the board. So it's another person to recognize and helping us
Yeah,
get
she
this successfully completed.
She did a lot of work when it came to bylaws, when it came to the joint powers agreement, all those things, seeing what other county, I mean, when you have to read 10 other CHB's stuff, in order to try and figure out what works best for you rather than creating your own, Renee did a great job for us. So.
Yeah, thank you. Next in your packet for topic is around MCIT sponsorship. The Community Health Board has submitted a survey to MCIT to receive coverage for the board. And part of that, we need sponsorship from one of the member counties. And so I'm bringing this forward to you today to request that Otter County sponsor Prairie Lakes Community Health Board for membership.
I would entertain a motion to sign the resolution.
I'll do that.
Buckles moves,
Full second.
Sullivan seconds, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. And I hope to have information to the board at our January meeting in regards to MCIT insurance coverage. It's still sitting in underwriting, so hopefully we'll have some more updates on that for the health board. The last thing on the agenda is in regards to the Prairie Lakes Community Health Board at-large community member. Commissioner Dan Buchholz had brought forward and recommended Kathy Simpson as the at-large community member to represent Otter County on the health board. In your packets was her letter of interest. I do think she is well suited and have had a couple conversations with her in regards to interest. It would be her first term, first time on Prairie Lakes Board. Our bylaws do and joint powers do speak to 3-year terms, and then depending on how things are going, those can be continued on. So I am recommending to you as Otter Board of Commissioners to appoint Kathy Simpson to a 3-year term as the at-large committee member to represent Otter County on the Prairie Lakes Community Health Board.
All right, Commissioner Buckles moves that appointment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Mortensen seconds. I appreciate Ms. Simpson's willingness to serve and application letter and things like that. That's not that's not something for everyone, that's for sure. So further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Social Service Supervisor Megan Adams and Adult Mental Health. Is Fonda here? I didn't see her walk in. Okay. And Beth Rader, sorry, didn't read my entire agenda line. I apologize.
Oh, sure.
Good morning.
Morning.
There we are. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Megan Adams. I am the Behavioral Health Supervisor with Human Services, and I also have the pleasure of sitting on our Adult Mental Health Local Advisory Council. We meet monthly, and really the goal with the Adult LAC, I know we've presented to the board before, but really our goal is to get expertise, feedback, real world experience from professionals who are involved with mental health services and those with lived experiences, both family members and individuals themselves who have had a mental illness either currently or at some time in their past. So we meet monthly to review that, make recommendations and suggestions to the board on items that we see as concerns or priority items. I would anticipate that we would come to the board in 2026 to provide a report on some of those findings and recommendations. We are very excited today, though. We received, we're always excited, but we had received a letter of interest from Don Saxton, and I didn't look behind it.
It's not here.
Not here today. But Don Saxton had submitted a letter of interest as a family member to officially join the adult LAC as a member, a voting member, and along with that comes a monthly stipend that's pre-approved generally by the board. We do require board approval for that appointment to the LAC. So I would ask the board for their support. It has already been reviewed by our lovely co-chairs, Beth Rader and Fonda Knudson, who, as I mentioned, is not able to be here today.
Go ahead, Commissioner Sullivan.
I'll make that motion.
All right, so Commissioner Sullivan moves to appoint Don Saxton to the adult LAC. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Buckle. So Sullivan moves, Buckle seconds. Discussion?
I just appreciate the interest and the willingness to serve in this capacity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great addition.
Absolutely. Our meetings are open to the public. Don's already been such an asset, and we're, as I mentioned, very excited to have her as an official voting member. So thank you for your support.
Yeah, brings great perspective too.
Absolutely.
So with that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Welcome her and
Thank
thank her.
Thank you. Sure will.
Yeah.
Next on our agenda is Administrator Nicole Hansen.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners.
Morning.
The items on my agenda this morning include approval of the committee assignments for 2026, which were reviewed a couple of times in the Administration Operations Committee with a few different changes. And so looking for a motion for that, along with the board dates for 2026, which will largely be on the second and fourth Friday of each month, with the exception of the first Tuesday in January, along with November and
Say
December.
second and fourth Friday.
Yeah, he did.
You did. That's what I heard.
I'm sorry.
Just want to make sure we're clear.
Second and fourth Tuesday. Thank you. And then
Would have been a change.
along,
Friday would have been a change.
you've been fun.
I thought maybe I heard things, but I think I got
Sorry.
clarification.
And then with November and December being adjusted for the holidays.
All right, so I'd entertain a motion for approval of the committee assignments and the Board of Commissioners meeting schedule. We've seen it in committee a couple of times, had some good discussion, moved things around. So it's not new to us. Lahman moves.
I'll take it.
Y'all look at each other. So Commissioner Lahman moves, Commissioner Mortensen seconds. Discussion.
Wasn't there a couple conflicts with the meetings though? The drainage one?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's another one too. I thought I saw two conflicts.
Was the MCIT legislative? The end of
When
January,
is it?
January
January 29th.
20th. And then drainage is also the last.
Yeah,
meeting.
there's some overlap.
So how are we gonna handle those?
You'll have to divide and,
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, make it work.
well, and
Make
the MCIT or the MCIT Legislative Forum, I believe, is in the afternoon, maybe into the evening. So maybe there would be some opportunity to still go to drainage and then,
Micah legislative, not MCIT legislative.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Micah.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard
Right? Am
time.
I on the right? Okay.
We're-
We're gonna blame the person sitting next to you to be talking to you about other stuff.
Sorry, let me start over. Yeah, Micah is on the 29th, but it is.
Yeah,
in
but it's
Dearborn.
the afternoon. Yeah, and it's in the afternoon. So
Yeah.
we should be able to shorten the
You-
meeting and still make it down there. So it's only about 2.5 hours down.
Yes, I don't have the agenda yet either, but I think
Yeah.
that's coming out.
So there's a motion, a second, drainage conference, we'll just have to figure out. Most of us have been there a number of times, so I'm not sure. If we just send staff maybe the first day or something like that, we'll figure that out as we get closer, I think. So with that further discussion, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We have a schedule set for next year.
Thank you. Let me see if I can do better on the next item. This resolution is to adjust the commissioner's salary for 2026 in line with the non-union and union COLAs that are negotiated to 4.5%. So it'd be changing the salary from $45,499.29 to $47,546.76 effective January 1, 2026. And then leaving the per diem the same at $90 per day for applicable per diem days, and then also aligning the benefits, the employer contribution to what was approved for the employees on October, I believe it was 14th.
And the per diem also goes over to the same thing for both of our Board of Adjustment and for our Planning Commission members, or is that did we change that? Is that a separate resolution?
That would be a separate resolution.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're,
Just for the
this is
commissioner.
just for the commissioners. All right, I just want to make sure that we address that as well if we need to, so. I'd entertain a motion to approve the salary and benefit resolution for 2026.
So moved.
Mortensen moves,
I'll second.
Lahman seconds, discussion? Discussion? We're gonna do a roll call vote because that's what's on there. So if you would do a roll call vote for us, Hannah, that would be awesome.
I'll call for the vote. Buckles,
Against.
Johnson,
For,
Mortensen,
Yes.
Lahman,
Yes.
Sullivan,
No.
motion carried.
all right. Otter Tail, 9 o'clock is the Planning Commission? Yeah, 9 o'clock. So if there's nothing before the board, we will recess until 9 o'clock. Okay, we will reconvene this meeting of the Otter Tail County Board of Commissioners for December 16th, 2025. Next on our agenda, Land and Resource Director, Kris LeClair.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Happy holidays. Thank you for having me. I do have a few items on the agenda for your consideration. I do have one item that was not on the agenda that I spoke to Commissioner Mortensen and County Attorney Eldien, and she thought it would be good, or we all thought it would be good to summarize a court ruling that came out last week. If all of you are familiar, there's a resident on Pickerel Lake over in Main Township by the name of Robin Pratt. You may have gotten a phone call or two from him in the last couple of years. There was a settlement about a year ago that the courts basically ordered him to, there were some concessions made and he was ordered to basically stop with the complaints, stop with going to state agencies, county employees, so on and so forth. He has not. To the point where this summer he actually showed up to Thomas Lee, who was a member of our Board of Adjustment. He drove to his house and proceeded to complain about the case. So the defendants, the neighbors sued, and there was an order from the court a week ago today, and I wanted to read the order to the county board members, just so you know, if you get a phone call from Mr. Pratt, just to remind you that he's not supposed to be doing this. So the plaintiff shall not pursue or participate in any way with any sort of litigation, court proceeding, public entity, administrative, governmental, quasi-governmental, lake association or property association, discussions, complaints, proceedings, or enforcement mechanisms directed at the defendant or defendant's property in any way arising out of or related to the factual pattern presented in the litigation. So the purpose of me sharing this with you is if Mr. Pratt calls you, he's not, just let me and County Attorney Eldien know, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you.
All right.
So can you give us, you can't give individual advice, but just, so if we get a phone call.
If he wants to talk about something other than that land, and some of you are familiar, some not so much, but I mean, I believe at the time it was the former Commissioner Rognus was also involved. I think
Yes.
a lot of us had almost daily visits in the office, things like that, to the point where they were quite contentious. But the issue wasn't that. The county was never a party, if you recall, to the action. It was a civil dispute. We tried to let them know that. Eventually, the other party back did sue, and get it resolved. And so the resolution included what Mr. LeClair was describing as this, basically, you're done. The judge ruled, and you need to stop harassing people essentially, and the other party as well. And so the county, he
does that apply to us?
Yes.
In other words, does that apply to public
Because
officials,
he's-
elected
ye-
officials?
Yes, and I was gonna say, that's the fine line, right?
That's,
Because
that's the part I was
as a
making sure.
commissioner, if you're in his district and he wants to talk about other matters, certainly we're
Oh,
not going to
absolutely.
prevent him from doing that. But I think it's that specific coming to you to complain or to try to still get a different result with an action that's already been settled.
Okay,
That's done. I mean, and that's a civil court action that he would need to go back on. The time periods, I think, are done with that. It's finalized. So I think just to, but I mean, certainly harassment at a home, coming out to people's homes and still talking about something that's already done is not acceptable. And that's why they keep going back to court. And the judge has now had a second order basically warning him.
okay.
So if you get a phone call from Mr. Pratt about his
Regarding
neighbor,
that, his neighbor.
correct, just alert us and we'll handle
Sure.
it from there.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, with that, so I'm here to talk about planning commission recommendations. Planning commission met last Wednesday on December 10th, 2025. We had a number of applications for December. It was a busy meeting for December. So let's just go through them one at a time. The first is Arch D Designs LLC, a conditional use permit application request to be able to have manufacturing in small craft retail cannabis at the same location as the cultivation located at 33963 300th Avenue in Section 5 of Main Township, Mud Lake, which is a natural environment lake. This particular application garnered a lot of public comment, both electronically leading up to the meeting and during the meeting itself. Planning Commission reviewed all the public comments, took public comment live, and after a lengthy discussion, which I did share with the county board last Thursday morning, a recording of the public hearing, it was about 90 minutes. After consideration and discussion, Trites made a motion, seconded by Wilson, to recommend denial of the conditional use permit for manufacturing and small craft retail cannabis based on findings that the proposed use is not compatible with the surrounding area on a natural environment lake and that access to the property is inadequate. I do want to make one thing clear. Agricultural use in the shoreline district is a permitted use and that can happen without a conditional use permit. So cultivation of cannabis can happen today if a license is issued by the Office of Cannabis Management. So what the applicant was present for is the addition of manufacturing and retail. So what Planning Commission voted on was a conditional use permit for manufacturing and retail. So the motion passed 4-3 with Blado, Frazier, and Wass voting no on the motion to deny the CUP, with the vote resulting in a tie. Chair Langley cast the deciding vote in favor of the motion. The motion passed and the conditional use permit application was denied. Now, since I did receive information from the applicant that summarizes the operation, it was received after the deadline of noon the day before Planning Commission. So I will ask the chair if this is information that the county board will accept.
Thoughts of the board?
I would look to Ms. Eldien.
I think the question I have for Mr. LeClair is that it appears to be a clarification of sorts of the actual application request. And so for that purpose, I think it might be relevant because I think if there's a request by the applicant to narrow their request for you, I think that's something you could consider. If I'm understanding it correctly from Mr. LeClair's comments yesterday to me. So for that, I would, for the sake of the commission, I think you should hear what it is and then make a decision because I believe it could affect.
So as long as it's clarification or whatever of the application, we can hear it, the public, because the public has had their chance, but the typical rule is once the meeting is closed, we don't take any more.
Information that was to make for the public, that this is really a clarification of it, and we have done that before.
Yep, okay. And I'm,
what is it that you need to decide?
and I'm fine with that. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't reopening some kind of a public hearing or doing things that were outside the legal scope of how we do this.
You're not.
Okay.
However, keep in mind that this document is 12 pages long And if you accept it, I would advise, and I think
Well, if
County
we
Attorney
accept
Eld-
that we will table this, we will
Correct.
table this in order to read the document.
I think that would be
Well,
appropriate.
otherwise we're being arbitrary and capricious, we're
Correct.
assuming.
Yeah.
Is that am I anywhere near where where legally we can take his,
Felt you needed more than today, that would be a different date or whatever, however that would work today, but I believe it's a clarification that would affect what you would decide, and for that reason, we felt important that if you consider it to do.
yeah, and then if that's the case, I will entertain a motion to table this application because of the clarification, 12 pages long. We obviously don't have time to study that and understand it today. And so I believe the appropriate approach would be to table this until 60 days, or do we pick a time specific? I don't want to do it on an organizational meeting. I want to do it on the 13th, Hannah?
We would have to, Hannah, can you look through the applications I handed you? What was the date of the application? It's Arch D Designs.
We can
We could
extend.
extend if
We can
there's a
extend.
change.
Present too.
And I do believe we need a date certain. for
We
the-
do. We
need
need
to be
a
certain.
date and time certain.
Do we need to bring it back to those guys? The planning board?
That's your,
Mm-mm.
no.
No, this was specifically addressed to the county board.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need
Yeah.
to bring it
We'll just. But because of the length of the information, it would only be appropriate to table.
Looks like the date it was received, Mr. LeClair, was, it's Archdeacon, sounds like making sure I'm looking at
Yeah.
the
Correct.
one. Address, and I'm looking at the received by Ms. Fusco on November 19th.
Well, this 13th of January, we'd still be okay.
We would be okay.
So we don't need to extend the 60 days or anything like that. So again, entertaining a motion to table this application because of further input until January 13th of 2026 at a time certain, 10 o'clock.
Nope, 10 has a food pool lodging.
10:30? Food pool and lodging shouldn't be a half-hour public hearing.
I sure hope not.
10:30 is okay, Hannah? I would entertain that motion to table until 10:30 on January 13th, 2026.
So move.
Mortensen moves,
I'll second.
Lahman seconds, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. LeClair, for that.
All right, the next application, I did make a PowerPoint because it's a little complicated and actually took us a while to get planning commission to understand what it was they were looking at and considering, and let me figure out. Hannah, oh, here we go, share. So the next application is a preliminary plat called Arvig Acres First Edition. Now, this might look familiar to you. That's because it is. A preliminary plat of Arvig Acres First Edition consisting of 16 single-family residential non-riparian lots consisting of 3 blocks located northeast of 45882 County Highway 8 in Section 31 of Corliss Township, Big Pine Lake, which is a general development lake, and unnamed lake 56143, which is a natural environment lake. So this looks familiar to you because we just saw this plat back in October. Here was the original plat. This was approved by Planning Commission on October 8th of 2025 with a condition that the right-of-way of Carmen Drive, which is this road right here, be extended to the south property line to allow the property to the south access should they ever want to subdivide. Now, normally, myself and County Attorney Eldien and the county board have taken a contrary view to those conditions, but in this case, we think it's appropriate because this property is landlocked. Otherwise, there's really no.
The property to the south is
The
landlocked.
property to the south
Wanted to clarify that.
is landlocked. So the condition, the preliminary plat with the condition was approved by county board on October 14th of 2025. The preliminary plat was withdrawn as of December 9th, 2025. And I do want to highlight what I just stated. So this Arvig property is a property being subdivided. there is a 33-foot ingress egress easement off of County Highway 8 down to the property to the south, which is owned by Theordison. So here is the new plat, Arvig Acres on 12/10/2025. Basically what they did is they removed, I have a better, here's what was present. Here's Carmen Drive and 5 lots. They just removed that and removed Carmen Drive to take away the condition that Carmen Drive be extended to the south. So as a result, both the township and planning commission wanted the road that was left behind, which is Eleanor Drive, to have the right of way extended to the south for the very same reason. So planning commission wanted Eleanor Drive right of way extended to the south property line. There was a motion by a planning commission member and a second to approve the preliminary plat with that condition. The applicant asked for a vote on the plat without the condition. As a result, that motion was withdrawn. And then a second motion to deny the application was made and passed. So after all that.
So the clarification, the planning commission is recommending denial.
Denial.
Okay.
Because the applicant does not want to provide right of way to the property to the south.
But
So
you said there's an easement there.
there is a 33-foot easement
Where's that relative? to the
here.
drawing?
So if you look at this area, so on this drawing, it's this right here.
Okay.
That's the.
So they do have access to their property.
They do have access to their property, but they would never be able to plat. Because in order to plat, you have to have a 66-foot
Got it.
wide right of way
Okay.
to the nearest public road.
Okay. That was,
That's
that's
the
where I was,
hindrance
that's where I
that's
was
created.
confused.
They would only ever be able to subdivide by meets and bounds. They would never be able to plat. And it was important to both the township and the planning commission that that right of way be extended. So after all that explanation, and I'll read a couple salient points here in the record. Per town board minutes provided by Treva Meadfield on December 1st, 2025. A discussion was, this was out of the township board minutes. A discussion was had regarding the new preliminary plat of Arvig Acres First Edition, in which Arvig removed block 2 from the new plat. After discussion, a motion was made by Vance Bachman and seconded by Alan Lubitz to express that Corliss Township desires that the first plat with block 2 and Carmen Drive and having Carmen Drive Road extend so that it ends on the township line between Corliss Township and Pine Lake Township, and all of Corliss Township specs are completed, would be in the best interest of all involved. The clerk will submit a letter to Land Resource. That is what prompted the withdrawal of the first preliminary plat. Because basically what the township wanted is enforce the first plat, deny this one, make them record the first one, and basically they withdrew the first plat. So as a result, after discussion, Trites made a new motion seconded by Fisher to deny the preliminary plat Arvig Acres First Edition because there is no access to the property to the south owned by Margaret Theordison, and denial was determined to be in the interest of the public. Motion passed with all members in favor.
I'll entertain a motion. Then I think there's some discussion on this one.
Motion to.
So you are moving to go along with the planning commission, which would be a denial of this preliminary plat. A motion would be for denial. Who'd like to make? Okay, so Buckles moves, Sullivan seconds. You right? You okay on that one? Okay, now discussion. And I'm going to give you an opinion. I believe if we approve the plat, we're actually doing a taking of land, because the people to the south can't, according to our rules, they'd have to get a variance because they don't have 66-foot right of way. So we are taking their ability away from them in order to create their own plat someday, which could be, this is Wayne Johnson's opinion, but that's the reason that I think this needs to be denied, is because we'd actually be taking the right from the neighbor away to be able to plat their land.
We'd be limiting their options.
We'd be limiting their options. So That's my discussion. If there's further discussion,
Well, I talked to Baldwin about this. I listened to it all too, and he wants to, when they passed the 2021 or whatever it was back in the day, they wanted that road up to their specs, and they stand by that. They didn't want none of this new stuff, and that's very important to me as a commissioner that they start listening to these townships. So that's and then when Art decided he wanted to pull it out, great. So I'm all in favor of denying it.
appreciate that. Thank you. Anybody else? With that, so the motion and a second is to deny this preliminary plat. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda was Ralph Tackemeyer, North Devils Lake Addition. This is another preliminary plat request for North Devils Lake Addition consisting of 19 single-family residential riparian lots, 1 block, and a conditional use permit for construction of an approximate 2,477 foot long township road with a total cut of 4,709 cubic yards, a fill of 1,008 cubic yards, with a net of 3,701 cubic yards to service the preliminary plat North Devils Lake Addition in section 31 of Gorman Township, Devils Lake, which is a general development lake. The development review team did meet on December 3rd of 2025. There was a township representative there. The township did indicate at that meeting, and it is part of the record, that the road that is being replaced is up to township specifications, and the township would like to be at the road inspection with the county engineer. For the record, the road is being moved. Right now, it's a little closer to the lake, and they're moving it to the north to accommodate this plat. So they're abandoning the current road and building a new one.
I'll entertain motion.
Make a motion.
Sullivan moves.
And the motion is to
The
follow the
motion is to
recommendation.
follow the recommendation of the planning. I'm sorry. The
Well,
motion is to follow the recommendation of the planning commission.
And I do want to clarify that there are 2 separate actions with this application. There's the
One's the
conditional
dirt.
use permit application to build the road, and then there's
Preliminary plat.
approval of the preliminary plat. So we'll need 2 separate.
Yep. So there's a motion, a second. That's the dirt. This is the earth moving part. Or is this the preliminary plat? This is the earth moving, because you talked about the cubic yards and those kinds of things.
Yep.
Okay. Question? So this is to move the dirt.
Yeah, so this is the motion.
This is the
moving.
motion to approve the earth moving over 1,000 yards, basically, as recommended by the planning.
Motion stands.
Okay, then everybody stand. Yep. All right. Just want to make sure we're clear. It's been an interesting morning. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I abstained from this one.
Oh,
because
thank you, Commissioner Buckles.
Supervisor with him for me, so all this is great.
Okay, so with Buckles abstaining. So the second part of this is to actually approve the preliminary plat.
Correct.
Okay, and this is a straightforward preliminary plat. We don't have any drawings or anything like that. Just asking. I'll entertain a motion to approve the preliminary plat. So the review team has been there, looked at it, gone through everything.
Correct.
And
And
the
planning commission.
commission has as well. So with that, to follow the recommendation of the planning commission on this preliminary plat, I would entertain a motion. And I presume Buckles is going to abstain again.
Abstain
All
from
right.
this one too.
So moved.
Lahman moves.
Second.
Mortensen seconds. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining is Buckles.
All right, next is Kohler Strom's Resort Owners Association. You might remember this one from a few years ago. A conditional use permit application to modify.
I need to walk out of the room. I'm
Okay.
involved in this development.
Okay.
So I don't want to be here for it. It's.
All right.
Commissioner
Okay. A conditional use permit application to modify the existing conditional use permit to have 12 residential units, 15 non-dwelling units and 14 slips. No change from the previous CUP number 2023-04 for the non-dwelling units and slips. We'll combine residential units 11 and 12 into one unit, therefore reducing the number of residential units from 13 to 12. The proposal is located at 51021 Fish Lake Road, Section 11 of Dunn Township on Pelican Lake, which is a general development lake. After consideration and discussion, Wilson made a motion, seconded by Blado, to recommend that the county board approve a modification to CUP number 2023-04 to allow 12 residential units instead of 13 by combining units 11 and 12. The motion passed with all members in favor.
A motion for this?
I'll make a motion to approve going from 13 residential units to 12.
Sean moves,
I will second. Oh,
Oh,
Dan seconds. Have any discussion on this? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Great.
Pass.
Last one, Crooked Lake Vineyard Trust, a conditional use permit application to convert our guest house into a tasting room for our farm winery. It currently has a 8x24 deck that we would like to expand to a 24x24 deck for seating for our guests. Excuse me. We plan on being open May through October, Sunday through Friday from 11 to 8 p.m. We will have a 4x8 lit sign at the end of the driveway and a small one in the yard directing traffic to the tasting room away from the main house. After consideration and discussion, Fisher made a motion, seconded by Wilson, to recommend that the county board approve the tasting room for the farm winery with the following condition. The planning commission is recommending that the signage not be lit. So that is one condition that the applicants accepted. The motion passed with all members in favor.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve as recommended by the planning commission.
so moved.
Mortensen moves,
Second that.
Sullivan seconds, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we do have a planning commission member that is retiring. His name is David Wass, and I've combed through the archives in Land and Resource. And the first time I can find David Wass on a planning commission minutes was from January 9th of 2013, which tells me, and I can't find any county board minutes actually appointing him for his first appointment. I'm sure it happened. But all indications are he's been on the planning commission for 13 years. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Commissioner Mortensen.
Thank you. And I would ask David Watts to come forward. On behalf of the Otter County Board of Commissioners, we want to extend our sincere gratitude for your years of service on the Planning Commission. Being on the Planning Commission, it's kind of a behind the scenes work that often is not seen by the public, but the decisions that you make as a member of the Planning Commission really are impactful to the county, and you have fulfilled that role in exceptional ways. And we thank you for that. Your contribution to Otter Tail County made a difference. And on behalf of the Otter Tail County Board of Commissioners, we want to extend to you a plaque recognizing your multiple years of service. And thank you very much for your time. Well, I wonder if we should get the whole board.
Wait, do we want to recess?
Please. We'll recess for a couple minutes and then reconvene. This is the Otter Tail County Board of Commissioners reconvening. Next on our agenda is Planning Board of and Commission, Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment appointments.
Yes.
Mr. LeClair.
Yep. So with that, we do have some reappointments and some new appointments. So we can take them one at a time. So on Board of Adjustment, we have Rick West, who has been on the Board of Adjustment, I think, for 3 years now. He would like to be reappointed to another 3-year term. And we also have Michael Donahoe, who I believe he has been on for 6 years. So this would be his third 3-year term. And he would like to be reappointed. I don't know if you want to take them as a batch or do them one at a time.
I think we can do Board of Adjustment as one, both Mr. West and Mr. Donahoe.
Yep.
So I would entertain a motion to appoint Rick West and Mike Donahoe to the Planning Commission for another
Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment, I'm sorry, for another 3-year term.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, Mortensen moves, Sullivan seconds, discussion. Thank them for being you know, for being willing to serve. They do a nice job on there. So, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
All right, next, and we'll do these one at a time. Stephen Langley, who is in the room, he is our current chair. He is wrapping up his first 3-year term and would like to continue serving the residents of Ottertail County and would like to be reappointed to another 3-year term.
Buckles moves,
I'll second that.
Lahman seconds. You sure you want to do that, Steve? Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Congratulations.
And then this one, I'm actually gonna ask Mr. Van Steenberg to come up. So to replace Mr. Was, Commissioner Mortensen and I had lunch with Mr. Van Steenberg a few weeks back. And he might be a familiar face. He serves on our AIS task force. And you're also a member of the COLA board, is that correct? Yep. And I think Mr. Van Steenberg would be a great addition to Planning Commission because he is a retired limnologist, right?
Well, I worked for the state of Iowa for 36 years. My first 3 years, I was a limnologist for the state hygienic laboratory. And last 33 years, I was in the Environmental Protection Division of the Iowa DNR and the Field Services Division. We did compliance and enforcement work, environmental laws, and also kind of carried on some of that stuff because we also investigated surface water complaints and I remember 1910-120 certified to respond to hazardous incidents. So we had spills and we weren't the guys in the suits. There was professionals that did that, but we had to have the same initial certification. So I did a lot of that. So a lot of related work.
Glad to have you in Minnesota.
And I think having a lake scientist on the planning commission is advantageous because you've watched the tapes, right? A lot of times we hear that if this particular application is approved, the lake is going to be, wrecked. And it would be good to, he'd be nice check on those statements that are made and either, well, the science doesn't really support what you're saying, or he might say, wait a minute, guys, this person actually has a point. Maybe we should consider what they're saying a little further.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Mr. Van Steenberg would be a great addition. Volunteerism is baked in. I know your wife and you volunteer for a lot, and I'm happy to recommend his appointment.
I would also note to his resume, he also provided community input for a single sort recycling, and we're looking at how best to serve the county.
I would entertain a motion to appoint
I will
Mr.
make that motion.
Van Steenberg. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Van Steenberg.
Thank you. There's a motion by Mortensen, second by Buckles. Discussion? Awesome. Well, thank you for being willing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you for your willingness.
Yeah, welcome. Careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
All right, next item on the agenda is a final plat, Olivia Acres. This is a plat of Franklin Lake that has been a long time coming. Pardon me? Is it Lizzie? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was, oh yeah, you're right, Lake Lizzie. So this has been through Planning Commission in, I believe, 23. And they got it, they submitted the final plat on October 10th. So this is a motion to allow the county board chair or the county board vice chair to sign the plat. It has been through development review. I have signed it, as has the county engineer, as the road was inspected this fall.
And moves.
I will second.
Kurt seconds. Any discussion?
I would just note that the plat has been reviewed by those that are required to make that review, and
Yes,
now
it
it
has.
comes for signature before the board.
Yes, it has.
Anything else? All right, let's vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. It passes.
All right, next item on the agenda, the county auditor and I have an update on the Long Lake lid. The deadline for receiving a petition to request a referendum on a special ballot was yesterday. And they have not submitted that petition. They submitted one a couple weeks ago. They were a few votes shy of the 26%, and they have not forwarded on an updated vote count. So at this point, it is our recommendation that the creation of the Long Lake lid move forward. The county auditor and I will be bringing forth recommended. We've got about 12 different applications for individuals to serve on the board of that lid. We've been keeping track of those. Now that the lid creation is a reality, we're going to be going through those applications with a finer tooth comb, and we'll be coming in January with recommendations for, I believe, 7 board members. Right now, of the 12 that have come through, we've filtered out about 3 or 4 of them. There's about 7 or 8 left. We're going to go through each one of those, and we'll come back in January with recommendations.
And just for clarity for everyone involved, 4 of them, if it's 7, 4 of them need to be residents of Minnesota, correct? I think that's statutory.
Residents
Of the lake, of the
riparians, they have to live in the lake. Correct, and that's why some of them have been filtered out.
Yeah,
because some of them live elsewhere.
Yeah, the 3 can be non-resident.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're all clear on that's how these lid boards get put together and those kinds of things. So, so I would entertain. Is it a resolution? My computer died on me. I apologize.
So we don't.
We don't need an.
Okay. Thank you for that.
All right, next item on the agenda is some retail registrations for lower potency hemp edibles. A memo was included in your packet with 6 establishments throughout the county that have applied for lower potency hemp edible registration. The first is Packers Last Up. Mr. Chair, do you want to act on these individually or as a batch?
I think we can take them as a batch, much like we do.
Are you sure about that name?
That's what was provided. Is that not correct?
Should be Parker's.
Oh,
Parker's.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Packers on the application. It may have been misspelled on their end. Is it Parker's? Parker's Last Stop?
When I drive by the sign, that's what it says.
Oh. Yeah.
At least we have the address correct.
Right. It's at
parcel number.
405 Otter Avenue North. So Parker's Last Stop in Parker's Prairie, Minnesota. Tony Reed, the city of Parker's Prairie has delegated registration authority to the county as of November 17th of 25. The next is North Star Gas and Grocery at 500 Inman Street in Henning, Minnesota. And the city of Henning delegated registration authority to Otter Tail County on April 1st of 2025. The next one is Big Pine Lodge, 43606 Mosquito Heights Road in Pine Lake Township. The township has delegated registration authority to the county as of December 4th of 2025. The Woodshed Bar and Grill in the city of Otter Tail at 211 Main Street. The city of Otter Tail delegated registration authority to the county on November 21st of 2025. That doesn't seem right. That's got to be 2024 because we've already done the liquor store in Otter Tail. So I think that's a typo. Single family residence, 10830 County Highway 79, Parker's Prairie Township, Casey Ruckheim. The Township of Parker's Prairie delegated registration authority to Otter Tail County on February 11th of 2025. And then finally, the Pelican Rapids Liquor Store at 120 Broadway North, Pelican Rapids, Minnesota. The city of Pelican Rapids delegated registration authority to the county on May 13th of this year.
Is there anyone who'd like to pull any of those off for further discussion? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. So this is low potency hemp, which that may change according to the federal law that passed. Everybody's trying to work through that, but for now, it's legal in the state of Minnesota. And just wondering if anybody wants to pull those, or if I can entertain a motion for approval on all of them.
Mr. Chair, I just have a question on single family residence.
Go ahead.
Is that actually a single family residence and they're going to be selling out of their home? That
I can look it up here.
They have been for quite a while.
They have been for quite a while.
Okay.
Yeah, they make their own product. They grow their own.
Oh, okay.
little retail signage or something there. Okay.
Yeah, and so,
But no name for the
Bottle our gold.
bottled art gold. Okay.
They've been doing it
fair,
for a few years.
They have.
already.
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
good question.
Yep.
So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve these 6 applications.
I would move that.
Okay, so Lahman moves,
I'll second.
Mortensen seconds, discussion?
What's the benefit of the county? These guys paying how much for a permit or what is it? You know, when they came in, what are they gotta do? How much they gotta write out a check to the county for how much?
Yeah, once they get once they get licensed by OCM, then I think it's $150 registration fee. Is that right?
Right there, yeah. We charge what's allowed.
Mhm.
So then is there a tax that they have to, there must be a tax on stuff, right?
There's sales tax.
There is.
And that's to the city,
Depends.
or the state?
Legislation changed in the last year, so the county will no longer benefit
Right.
from
Yep.
generated revenue.
So all their tax money goes right to the state,
Right to the state.
not to the county. So we're getting nothing out of this.
Correct.
The registration fee, I presume we have to do compliance? Age
Yes.
compliance? This is
Yes.
age compliant. This
This
is
is-
21 and over.
Correct.
So I'm assuming that we do the age compliance, just like we do the liquor stores,
That
just
is
like we
correct.
do cigarettes, like we do for all the convenience stores, et cetera, et cetera.
That's the whole purpose of the registration.
Yeah, so we know where they are, so we can do compliance checks. So, further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And on that, with these lower potency hemp edible registrations, the office does have a request, rather than bringing these forth to the county board, there's one of 2 ways we can handle these in the future. The first is to put it on the consent agenda for the county board. The second is to do what a lot of other counties are doing, which the office can administratively approve them without going to county board. And I don't know if that might take an ordinance change, because I think all applications do have to go through county board. Right, but what I'm asking is, do we want to change the ordinance where the office can just take these?
We can
Okay.
we can talk about it in Jan.
Correct, that's an exemption for the 21, yeah.
So how many do we have in Article County? Here's 6 of them, right? 5, whatever.
We approved 3 of them in October, so for the lower potency, which we're talking just about the gummies and the drinks, I think we have 9
And
of
that's
them now.
typically that's hemp derived. That is not cannabis derived.
Well, I think they're cannabis
Yeah,
derived.
low
I think they're,
potency.
I think it's
Oh, it
cannabis
is.
derived.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the milligrams of THC or something.
Yeah, it's like 10 milligrams. Yeah. But the cannabis, we're up to 4 in the county if you count the 2 in Fergus Falls. We have the Wildflower up in Pelican Rapids, Mary Jane's, which you approved back in, I believe, October, and then there's 2 in Fergus.
City of Fergus Falls that they approved.
We'll
So,
have 1 more left, right?
Correct.
If
Correct.
they're allowed at 5, right?
Correct. And that's a should, not a must. We could go beyond that if we wanted to.
yeah, minimum's 5. So we have a motion before us, the motion was passed. I believe, so my opinion, these could go on the consent agenda, much like liquor stores and gambling permits do. We do it all, we approve those all the time if we need to, and we see one that says something we're not sure of, we can pull it off the consent agenda.
Yep.
And
That's how I believe we can do it.
Mr. Chair, I think that's important, right? To treat, deal with it the same. But that's what we've said before. We're trying to do the same thing with it. So again, you can pull it off if you have a question, but I think that's how I
But-
would.
Consistency
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah, I
Yep.
just, the liquor stores, the gaming permit, all of those things, the temporary liquor license, we handle them all on consent agenda. If we want, we can pull it off for further information. So that's how I would suggest we move forward with this, Kurt.
That doesn't require a change from your perspective of any.
It does not. It's still county board approval.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, last item on the agenda. This is a request for out-of-state travel. This is out-of-state travel that's related to my duties as president of the National Onsite Wastewater Recycling Association. The first is January 19th through the 21st. I'll be going to Osage, Missouri for the Missouri Small Flows Annual Conference that I will be driving to on Martin Luther King Day. This is the second time I've been going to that. The next one is January 26th through January 28th of 2026 in Denver, Colorado, to the Colorado Professionals and Onsite Wastewater Annual Conference. I will be taking a flight from Fargo to Denver, and Nauro will be covering all of my travel expenses. The third one, and it's really not out of state, I'm just highlighting all the conferences I've been speaking at, is February 2nd and February 3rd of 2026 in Duluth, Minnesota, at the Minnesota Onsite Wastewater Association, which I believe our county board chair will be present at. Pardon me? Oh, and then the fourth is February 16th through February 19th in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the WET Show, the Water and Wastewater Equipment Treatment and Transport Show. We are currently in negotiations with another organization called NOT, the National Association of Wastewater Technicians, to merge both organizations. And we're going to have a face-to-face meeting with both executive committees at that conference to try to work out some logistics with our organizations merging.
Motion to approve out-of-state travel for Mr. LeClair. There's no cost to the county
On all these.
on all these.
I'll be on county time, but the travel expense, the airfare and lodging will be covered by NORA.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Buckles moves. Mortensen seconds. Discussion. We appreciate your willingness to serve in those capacities and encourage our staff to participate in a broader scope in their profession. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. 2 minutes over.
2 minutes over. Not bad. When I saw the agenda, I thought, hey, well, I wonder if we're going to get this one done. So thank you, Mr. LeClair. General discussion. I've got solar grants. I believe that's Mr. Leonard.
Thanks, Steve.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thanks for letting us add this item this morning. A couple months ago, you approved, moving forward with the energy transition grant and applying for the solar grants. These, in your original resolution, you did authorize staff to move forward and execute the necessary documents, but there is a grant agreement that's going to be coming from the Department of Commerce. And in visiting with Doug, we thought it was prudent that we brought the exact amounts back to the board so you can see it. This is somewhat typical, I think, of, they need it executed by the end of the year, although we do not have the grant contract yet. And the reason we need that contract is because, as you recall, there's two different ways. The grant provides 70% of the funding for the project. And then the other 30% we can either get through tax rebate or direct pay via, or through Ottertail Power. We intend to use the Ottertail Power. That's still our plan. I don't think there's going to be any problem with that. But let's say Ottertail Power for some reason says, hey, all those dollars went away. We want to still have this other, the tax piece in our back pocket so that if that went away, we still could do that. That's why we had to get this executed by the end of the year so that we could make sure that if in some weird chance that Ottertail Power wasn't an option, we still have this other 30% covered. And so I handed out a resolution. It basically just says that these are the two grant amounts that we're receiving from the Department of Commerce, and you authorize us not only to execute that contract with Department of Commerce, but also we have to expend 15% of the project by the end of the year, which is easy to do, but just wanted to make sure we have board approval today so that we can do that between now and the next 2 weeks. Did I miss anything, Doug?
Good.
So we have a resolution accepting the grants from Department of Statewide Solar on public programs. I'd entertain a motion for appropriate signatures on that resolution, which is myself and Nicole. Lahman moves.
I will second.
Mortensen seconds. Discussion. So no cost to the taxpayer, on any of this. It's just accepting grants like we do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and allowing you guys to, follow through with it. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Can I sign it? You have a clean copy? You just, can I sign this one?
It's got information on that has to be filled in.
Okay. Oh, yep, Tan will fill it in. So, yep, all right. We're still in general discussion. Is there anything else? Yes, sir. Yes.
So, you know, I was at that planning commission. But, you know.
Could you identify yourself, sir? Okay.
On Avenue.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry. So we heard the arguments based on that application of Arch Designs. That was heavily misrepresented, and we heard a lot of outcry from that. The minutes are there on that. After the fact, now we're going to accept a 12-page document on the application. My question is that document public, that we can now see it? And does that reopen up, I think to your point, Chair, Mr. Chair, that we are not going to entertain the argument part of it, but if it's going to clarify the application. If it's a 12-page document, I'd imagine there's some argument there. And we've already went through the process of the planning committee, hearing from the opposition and all parties. And then the planning commission made their vote. Consistency is key, Mr. Mortensen. I'd like to maintain that. But if we're going to reintroduce it, is that open for public interpretation?
I think that makes sense. That's why we, my opinion, and Ms. Eldien can help. That's why we tabled it so that we can determine if that's the case. In other words, we get quasi judicial. Is that what they call that? We get to be the decision maker. If the document in the opinion of the board, every board member will read it separately. If we think it changes the application, does whatever, we have the ability to reopen it and push it back and have public comment. Okay, so that's the procedure of how that'll happen. If we feel, the board feels as a majority or whatever, that it doesn't change anything, it narrows the scope or lessens the scope. So you can, or gives us different a condition or something like that for clarification. We don't necessarily have to reopen it for public comment, but that's a board decision that we'll make on the 13th. Yeah, no, that's the procedure. Michelle, if I close on that. Okay.
Now, are that document submitted, last question, is that available to the public? Something that, you know, someone near and dear there can read that opposition? Because it was submitted after the fact.
Right.
We had to get our stuff into court.
Yep.
And is that something I could have a copy?
The county board still, as long as it's not a true client privilege, it's available to the public.
Do you know, I think you would just make a request to the secretary, I mean, Ms. Hansen would provide it, somebody requested. It's basically to me part of his application because it was basically, like you said, is it narrowing?
Is it narrowing?
In my opinion, from what I've understood, and I have not seen the document itself, I had a discussion. Is it's narrowing it as far as the focus of what they're to decide, should he decide to take on a portion of it? And there was some of that discussion, if you recall, at the time.
There was, and there'll be a host of factual opposition to that too. Easements, water table, Carlisle muck.
I'm gonna try it again.
Sorry. Can I make
our position?
Thank you. I didn't want to do that. I just feel procedure. Yeah. Very good.
Okay, Hannah can make a photocopy or something like that. Oh, yeah.
So just send him an email for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Walk
Yeah.
down there, you can pick one up.
What's that?
Walk down there. I know, you can pick it up.
He's got it here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right down the hallway, land research.
Happy holidays.
Any further discussion for general discussion? If not, we are going to recess until 10 o'clock. This is the Otter County Board of Commissioners meeting for December 16th, 2025. We are reconvening. Next on our agenda is Interim Deputy Administrator Kris Vipond.
Good morning, commissioners. So I'm here just to submit the resolution for the final adoption of the gross and net property tax levy. As noted before you, at this point, it is still the same as what was indicated at our truth and taxation meeting, where the net levy is $56,374,123, 5.79% increase. And that does include lake improvement districts and the library.
I would entertain a motion to, is this a resolution?
It's a resolution.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution and appropriate signatures.
So move.
For our budget for 26. Mortensen moves.
I'll second that.
Lahman seconds. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and resolution passes.
Okay. The next resolution I have is related to the county HRA and CDA and their gross and net property tax levy resolution. Within this, we are adopting the $1,610,431 for the HRA and $644,287 for the CDA. And those are the same amounts as payable year 2025 was.
So no increase for HRA CDA. I would entertain a motion on the resolution for the HRA and CDA.
So moved.
Sullivan moves.
Second that.
Buckles seconds. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution passes.
Okay, the next resolution is adopting the calendar year 2026 budget. The total budget at this time is $127,054,371. And that does include some interfund transfers and the payments out of the HRA CDA levies.
I would entertain a motion for the resolution of the complete budget, which includes all the intergovernmental as Kris described.
So move.
Mortensen moves. Sullivan?
I'll take it.
Okay, Sullivan seconds. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Motion carries.
Okay, the final item I would like to ask for is a motion to authorize, if necessary, as of December 31st, 2025, interfund loans for the various Otter County ditch systems, which with deficit cash balances as of the end of the year. And that would be loans from the general fund to the ditch fund to make, as you know, we're not supposed to have negative balances, so they would have loans instead.
I'd entertain a motion to allow the ditch interfund loans as needed.
So moved.
Oh, I got one over here at Buckles and a second by Lahman.
Sure.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Commissioner Sullivan.
How many ditches have a negative balance? Do we know that? Do we have that information?
As of right now, I believe we were in about 26, but we still have some payments going out, which is why we don't actually have numbers at this time. And we also have discussed the ditch funds themselves we're doing a little better with redeterminations and getting those back up a little closer to where they should be. We may be able to come next year asking to pay off the general fund where the ditches would loan against themselves, because now there is a balance maybe that will support that, and we would go to the ditch board.
So we don't have a dollar amount we're taking out of the general fund right now?
Not right now. At the end of the year,
At the end of the year, we'll know that.
yeah, we'll know that after our final bills have been paid.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And we can report on that being
Sure.
next year,
please,
just so we've got some idea of number.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just, because when we redetermined, we put that fee against the ditch, and they don't have the money because that's how we set what we levy for it, assess for it is the proper term. And so this is a continuous dance, in my opinion, that, okay, we have to loan them in order to get the redetermination done. And then we assess them for the benefits. And usually it takes a couple of years to get that assessment caught up and paid. And so that's how we repay the loans and stuff like that. And
Maintenance
maintenance
sometimes falls into the same
maintenance sometimes
category.
falls in, and all of a sudden the maintenance was more than they had in ditch balance, but the maintenance has got to get done. At least we have asked, just for the general public, we've got somewhere to go get the money after we redetermine and things like that. So we're just sort of, and this is common in almost every county that's got ditches. This is just how it operates. And if you, I hate to say it, but if you read our audit report from the state auditor, it gets called out every year, and they even say, and we know it happens because every county does it. It's just part of how you operate ditches in Minnesota. It's what it is. So with that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, I will bring back that information in January. Yep, thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna recess until 10:15. So we have about a 1-minute resolution to pass. This is the Otter County Board of Commissioners reconvening December 16th, 2025. Next on our agenda is Community Development Director Amy Baldwin. Good morning, Amy.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Before you this morning are actually two resolutions approving single-family tax abatements. The first resolution is related to two applications from the city of, one from City of New York Mills, one from the City of Otter, where we are partnering with them on new their local programs. And then the second is a result of a replat of a previously approved application. The abatements are connected to a specific parcel number. And so we needed to incorporate those updated parcel numbers as a result of that realignment of the parcel, but they've been previously approved within the program, but prior to construction starting on those homes. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on these approvals. These were included in the public hearing that was held at the prior county board meeting.
Questions for Amy regarding these abatements? So that we are partnering with cities. So that was our decision that if they wanted partnering, we would, but the general program for anybody and it is no longer available.
Sure.
And then just redoing the tax, basically the parcel number on that one. Okay. Questions?
Move resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Mortensen for motion.
I'll second.
Sullivan seconds. Discussion? Hearing none. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. And I think engineer, did Jody watch? She did.
Yep.
Engineer Teich is here. Sounds like it's just a report and not much action as far as the first line item. So Jody, if you're ready to come up and update us on winter highway maintenance, it would be awesome. And Colby's probably coming along.
Good morning, Commissioners. Actually, we are asking the board to approve a policy, but we can probably talk for about 2.5 to 3 minutes to bring us up to 10:20 if that will help matters.
You're rocking on that one. So
Colby, maybe you want to go into just some of the minor updates you made to the policy.
2 minutes about this, I'll talk really slow. I went through our winter operations policy at the start of our snow season. Noticed it has not been updated since 2020. I did go through it and just made a couple updates. One being our population, it's grown just a little bit. And then just title changes, adding a clause in policy number 1 about depending on the event on our start time. Sometimes we come in at later in the morning than 3 o'clock. And then I believe the only 2 more changes in policy 5B. The policy previously stated that residents shall not plow or blow snow from driveways onto the highway. I thought of just adding the or right of way as we run into that issue numerous times a week. And then the final change was adding environmental considerations to ice control policy.
questions for Colby or Engineer Teich? Statutorily, you can't put snow in the right of way of a public road, correct?
Correct. That is a misdemeanor violation.
There's people who don't quite understand that, I think.
Some of those people are getting letters this week.
Yeah, so I see it every once in a while and go, and it, sorry, wouldn't be so bad if they actually pushed it off the right of way and down in the bottom of the ditch if they had a little bit of snow, but half of them leave it right there for our wing on a plow to come by. Well, then it hardens and about tears the wing off or throws the truck in the ditch.
Right. It also causes drifting issues on the road.
Right. So there's reason why the law is there and we're putting it in our policy. So with that, I've got 10:20. And so I would entertain a motion to approve the policy with the changes that Colby has outlined that was in our packet.
I will make that motion to approve the edited policy.
There's a motion by Sullivan,
I'll second.
second by Mortensen. Discussion.
Those changes appear appropriate and bringing it to date in terms of both wording and populations and matters like that.
Right, thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
For my next item, this is a county state aid highway right-of-way release that has been going on since long before I entered Otter Tail County. But I'm asking the board to adopt a resolution releasing excess right-of-way along County State Aid Highway 33 in Section 22, Township 132 North, Range 42 West. There are a couple of maps within your packet that show exactly where this right-of-way vacate release would be. The old roadway alignment had that right-of-way extending well onto private property. So the property technically was not usable, nor was it on the tax base. So this action would basically return 1.34 acres to the county tax rolls.
In use by the property owner as well.
Correct.
I will make that motion.
There's a motion by Mortensen,
Second.
second by Lahman. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Sorry to put you so far ahead of schedule.
It's we have our last item because someone is on a personal deal till 10:30. So with that, we will recess till 10:30. The Otter Tail County Board of Commissioners meeting for December 16th, 2025. Next on our agenda is Human Service Director Deb Sjostrom and County Attorney Michelle Eldien regarding fraud prevention. Lynn Pinky Valdez. Good morning.
Jeff made it. There we go.
You want it up right away?
Yeah.
So there, we have a presentation,
Yeah, just a very
PowerPoint.
quick
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Just a very.
Just a
Oh,
few
that's
comments.
fine. It just for the public, they can watch along if they'd like.
Yes. Just a few slides. Title slide. We're here today, thank you for the time, commissioners, to talk about fraud prevention and what we do in Otter Tail County, what that looks like, as well as the fraud referral process, how those are handled between our Human Services Agency and the County Attorney's Office. So that's what the topic is today, and we have a few slides to go through and some talking points for each one of those slides that we'll discuss with you. And Hannah, you can move to the next slide. So it may come as a surprise to you that fraud has been in the news. It is, and most recently, it has been not only in the local and state news, it has been in the national news related to Minnesota and issues around fraud. So that is also a piece of why we're here today to talk about what we're doing locally, what that looks like on a local level. Things that happen on a much larger scale statewide are obviously outside of our control, but what are the things that we can do to both prevent and to identify and then refer fraud to the county attorney's office.
And
Okay.
if I might add, not only the things we can do that we have been doing over the course of time. This is not new work. The things we'll be sharing today is
Mhm.
our formal process.
Thank you. All right. So the slide before you and on the screen for anyone who may be watching this on YouTube is the information around our process. So we have a process around staff training, prevention protocols, referrals to the county attorney's office, and then the financial recruitment and or criminal charges. And before I move further with this, I want to call out a few people who are with us today. Steph Swenson and Lisa Baumgart, they are supervisors for our economic assistance team.
Jeff Steinbrenner is with us as well, Assistant Human Services Director. Melanie Courier, who supervises the Disability Services team in Ottertail County. You likely have heard some things related to fraud in what's been referred to, what is previously known as PCA, and concerns about fraud with waiver. So Melanie's here to be able to listen to the presentation and then add in as appropriate. And then the other person who's here joining us today is Jeff Edwards. And Jeff
Hi,
is
Jeff.
part of Michelle's team. He does, when we make a referral, he's the one who gets our referrals in the county attorney's office, does the investigations, assessments, and determinations, along with Michelle's team. Okay.
So Jeff works for Michelle's office.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The fraud investigator
Got it.
from our office.
Thank you.
So the first circle that you see on the screen is around staff training. So specifically related to our economic assistance team, because you've heard a lot about potential fraud around medical assistance, around supplemental nutrition assistance program, and even cash programs. So our economic assistance team, for a number of years, as long as I can remember, and having been in this position, have had training through our fraud investigator, or our fraud investigator has brought someone from the state out to provide training to our staff around fraud, what it is, how to make referrals, what to be looking for. That's been going on for a number of years. The team more recently, and Michelle can speak to this if you would prefer to, more recently we had a meeting and talked about the process had been an annual training, and moving from an annual training to either quarterly or twice a year. We have new employees that start in between a 1-year mark. And for them to know and understand what to be looking for and how to make referrals, we need to have some training more frequently. And so taking that 1-year process and chunking it out, and also then creating more relationship between Jeff and his position and the people doing that work in the Human Services Department. So that's been happening and has been happening for quite some time. So what does our team do to identify potential fraud? And some of this flows into the picture that will be on the next screen. But one of the things that I've talked about with Steph and Lisa over time is those things that make you go, that seems odd, or that seems strange. What are some of those things? Some of those things are inconsistent information. We are provided information from source A, and then we look to verify that income doesn't match with what the person said. Here's my job, here's what it is. And then the report we get from deed, it doesn't match. That's what's not matching here? What more do we need to know? That's a space for the question marks. Another space that we have is whether or not we have agency information, agency knowledge. If I am receiving services, and this is, again, can you go to the next slide for a second, Hannah? Thank you. Intentional fraud versus human error. So agency knowledge. I'm receiving services, and Lynn is my case manager for my, I have a mental health diagnosis and I receive case management. And I let Lynn know something. And I assume that Lynn is going to go ahead and let the economic assistance team know that. But we weren't clear about that, and Lynn didn't let them know that. And then our economic assistance team finds out something about my income. And they go, this doesn't make sense. But as it turns out, I did actually report it. So if it's known in one part of our agency, that's not fraud. That would then be more of that human error piece of this. You can flip back.
So they weren't hiding it from
Right.
anyone.
But it's still something that makes us go,
Yes.
that doesn't make sense. When I was talking with Steph Swenson last week about some of the things that stick out, one of the examples she gave was somebody gives you a contact phone number, and they say that they don't have a job. and you call the contact phone number and it says, hi, you've reached Mary Sunshine and my home baking business. That seems odd. Something then to dig deeper into. Those are some examples of the kinds of things that make us go, From there, us doing a little bit of digging and looking at it, then say, well, this stuff doesn't make sense. We have a process and a form. Shocking, right? In human services, we have a form that we then complete the form and send that over to the county attorney's office. And so those referrals to the county attorney's office, what happens next?
Is Michelle's part of the
Pass
program.
to Michelle.
Yep, I think my mic is on. Yeah, and like Deb said, a lot of things have been in place for a number of years, but there's been changes with rules, policy, and things that have made maybe pursuing fraud a little bit more difficult. I could explain a little bit, but in general, some of the system has been set up. One of the changes between our offices in the last few years was an FPI grant. And I think that's important. So one of the other tools for prevention and dealing with fraud is that. And a couple of years ago, we decided to finally go after the grant. So we bring in about $200,000, which basically covers, Jeff and some of the staff for the work. So it's almost a wash, right? However, that grant has a lot of requirements as well, training and opportunities. And so Jeff in my office is very involved with Mafia, one of the organizations for fraud in the state. Which is weird, right? But that is what it's called. And then also,
You're involved with the mafia?
What's that stand for?
Minnesota Fraud Investigators Association.
Minnesota Fraud
I know, but it is what it is. So Jeff is quite involved there.
That made
And
me
then-
go,
I know. When we say it, it sounds weird. And then UCOF, which is a national one, but the trainings that they do, he also brings back that knowledge and then works close with the state and those that are part of the fraud prevention there. But the grant does have some additional requirements, and I just bring it up because one of them is prevention. It's FPI work. And so a lot of what the work is supposed to do is prevention. So that's one side of it, right? So we do try to do that. I think the important piece was when Deb brought up, I think we talked a few years back, even during COVID, it's been going on for a while now, of what can we do better with the staffing issues. They have a lot of turnover in these eligibility worker areas. I mean, I would say it takes 2 years to get really up to speed. So then the supervisors lose people. It's just a lot to get them educated enough to know how to do the work, get proper referrals to Jeff, which is a big issue. So we can do the good work we need to do once it gets to us, right? And not sort through a lot of volume of referrals that shouldn't come. So that's the thing we're working on. And I do think the training, not just once a year to get together, you're not really accomplishing what we want to. And I think the key for Deb and I was we want to have more interaction with the fraud investigator and the actual staff and the supervisors, and to sort through issues that come up at least quarterly, not once a year, and then also bring back some of the ideas and things that are going on at the state level and the federal level, because the federal stuff affects us too. And so that's kind of the changes that we have done. But generally, then when it gets to the actual fraud referral in our office, that's a big part of what Jeff does. We have a great team, though. It's not just Jeff. Sue Allschmidt, our office manager, did the work before. So we have that added bonus to have somebody with knowledge from 25, 30 years ago doing the work, working with the eligibility workers and understanding it. So she's part of our team. And then we also have the collections officer specialist, and this we'll be seeing that position later because we've made lots of changes over the years to make it fit better with what we do with fraud and collections. But Karen Murphy, who also came from human services, which Jeff did as well, by the way, was an eligibility worker too. So what's that, good for me and my team with that is they all come with some knowledge from what the actual work that was being done. We were hopeful as well with Jeff that relationship over at that office would help with the work we do, because the more communication, right, the more relationships help do the work together. And so I think that's been going great, and we're making continual improvements, I think, with that. But the only thing I would say regarding the referrals and just the work we do, I've been working with Senator Rasmussen and others with fraud too. Some of us spoke last year and they've asked because obviously it's in the news. There are a lot of things we can do, but it's a little bit beyond us here. And so I just want to say, I think a lot of the struggles that Jeff and us have with cases is some of the rules and policy things that have changed over the years, making it a lot different when I prosecuted cases 25 years ago to now. That human error element is an issue for intent with us. So we try to weed out those cases. And certainly then we're educating and doing the prevention side when it is error. And there's some overpayment discussions. That's too much for today, but overpayments is a big deal. We were on pause during COVID, but now we're going back to bring back that money to the county, even though it went out in air, right? You still shouldn't have got it. Different than fraud.
Question. So we are, so if Deb, right, you use yourself, so, or Wayne or whoever.
Yep.
If I've got qualified payments, X number of dollars, and all of a sudden we find out that there was errors made somewhere along the line or falsification of information or whatever, we do have the ability to go there and get that money back.
And we do now, and those are some of the changes that we've been talking about and how to go get, anybody have comments back there to clarify for Mr. Johnson? You're the workers.
The program, some programs.
The program is revenue recapture.
Yes, and that is one of the collections. So Ms. Murphy in my office does that. Though some of those rules change too about statute of limitations and that.
That was my,
That's
that was my
another
question. How
conversation.
far back?
Good question. And I think that would be a good one. Remember when I had talked to you guys a few months back or a month or so saying we would be hopeful to come back like we do with numbers for the first of the year. We could not do that. We need year end or we wanted year end to have that full discussion with you.
Sure.
We will be doing that.
Okay.
So Jeff and Karen and others in my office are working on that with the agency for those numbers. At that time, I think it would be good because Miss Murphy works very close with recapture and to talk about how that is and what the numbers look like in that and the limitations. But for the most part, yes, we can. I forget now if it's the 10 years, whatever it is, but we had to take stuff off of books, put it on and all that for
I
debt.
have
Go
a
ahead.
question, Eldien. Did you imply prosecution is more difficult today than it was?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
of what, law
And
changes to the laws?
yes,
Or?
and policy changes
Policy
as well. And I say tough more that prevention is, pushed more,
Mhm.
but then it's also just a couple examples of changes. Like back in the day, we would have done the work with Mr. Mortensen and I, the number in a household mattered and you would go after it. Now it's more in the household actually is more money in the household. So that'd be one example. The other one is just program rules about auto renewals, things like that. I would say the biggest challenge from a prosecuting standpoint is to prove up intent. And so an example of some of the forms are back in the day, Steph can shake her head. I mean, they worked with people in person. You had a conversation. Steph could come in and testify that I met that person. I sat with them and they initialed each one of those boxes and understood. Now, a lot of the applications and things, not that we created it, this is state or federal
Sure.
Forms that are online. And some of those forms, if you go on, are not, it's not the same, right? You're not sitting in front of that person. You're not explaining things. And then some of them, we
When-
don't know why. Some programs are different
You
than others.
can't read body language. You can't do all those
Correct.
things, which oftentimes for many people who are fraudulent, that's a tell.
Yep.
I mean, anybody who's done that work, you look at some people and go, oh yeah, that they're not telling the truth. At least that's the sense that makes you go.
Well, but that's what an officer does, right? Or
Right.
anybody meeting with somebody in
Right.
person, those cues, like they were talking about, something feels, you get a lot more of that. So those are some of the things,
Sure.
but some of the things we can work on, I think it's legislative, but I think it's state and federal, is there's some programs that have the auto, you have to renew every 6 months or a year, and some of the programs with medical, it's not the same. So it makes it a little bit easier for people, to make
Sure.
mistakes, things not to get caught, not to correct things sooner, and more money goes out. So there are some things that need to be done, and I've been talking to, that's where we can make change, I think, is in those areas, so the workers can deal with it more and then dig into it once those forms are done and
Sure.
things like that.
Commissioner
Well,
Mortensen.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that's a great segue to the next slide, really sussing out the difference between what is intentional fraud happening with intent versus human error. That can be on the part of one of our staff, any of our staff, or on the part of the person, the applicant who is applying. So
My
something.
question kind of
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
falls within that subject matter, but on the topic of human error, how does DHS current information system requiring repeated entry of data factor into the human error component? How do you stand?
Are we talking the green screen?
Yeah.
20 minutes to change.
20 minutes to change one person's whatever address?
I think about, there was a couple of years ago in the audit where we had I don't know that I want to say it was a ding because I'm not sure that that's right, but when they took a look at an MA, I think it was an MA case, and the amount that was entered on the Maxis panel for a bank account was like $1.51. I'm totally making up the numbers, okay? It's
That's
like
fine.
$1.51. And then we got the bank account and it was $1.57. And we didn't go in and update the Maxis panel to say $1.57. And then we got dinged on that our systems are not intuitive and that does not help the situation.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Couple things in relationship to human error that I think are impacting right now and will improve over time. During the COVID-19 pandemic, there were numerous waivers, things that you didn't have to do. Specifically with healthcare, we didn't want people to lose their healthcare coverage during a healthcare emergency. We wanted them to keep their healthcare. So we couldn't close anyone's medical assistance. So no adverse actions could be taken. So it didn't matter if they reported or didn't report, we couldn't close it. And again, for good reasons, but we couldn't close it unless they asked to have it closed. When that waiver was finally lifted, that's when you saw some of those MA numbers that were higher start to come down because we came across the people that were no longer eligible. And then they said, well, close my case. When they got a renewal, it's like, oh, I didn't even know that was still open, close my case, because they didn't have to report things. And that has created some human error, even though people know that the numerous pages of documents that they need to look through and attest to and sign off on have all the information. Many of the people we serve, it's just overwhelming and they initial and they sign. And it's not because they don't care. It's not because they don't want to do the right thing. It's overwhelming. Have you ever checked the box, I agree to the terms, without reading all the stuff on the screen? Have you ever done it? The same is true for the people we serve. And so we know that they check the box. It's important for our employees to talk to them about it when they talk to them, to say, you have a reporting responsibility. Don't forget the reporting responsibility. Those waivers have changed. They're gone. We need you to be reporting. If you get a new job, report. If you have a change in household composition, report. Someone moves in, someone moves out, birth of a child, report. You stop working, report. Report all those major changes, because that will help us take away that error piece. The vast majority of people are not intentionally committing fraud. They are making a mistake.
And this would
Are you
relate
looking
more
at
to the
me?
prosecuting side, but jurors have also checked that box without reading. And that's a reality in a criminal prosecution.
And it is, and like I said, the one I liken it to is failure to register as a predatory offender. You know, to prove something like that, you talk about their rights and responsibilities, but they still fill out a form and there's initials on each box to that person. If we could get a little closer to that. So I have ideas, it's just that it needs to be something more robust, right? For that person to actually acknowledge things and force them to not be able to do that without moving on, or you know what I mean, like a prompt screen. If you're going to do it electronically, there's ways to do that where you have, any other form. So to respond to that, I've told my attorneys, and you still can deal with it. You just have to argue it that way, though, right? Just like your mortgage form, you were prompted to acknowledge that before you proceeded, but it's a different world from in person to electronic.
Well, and frankly, some of that is very technical legal language that many of us who aren't attorneys probably can read it and still not understand it. Yeah, I agree. What did that say? I mean, I can attest to reading things and I have to go to Google or whatever and find out what a word means, because I have no idea what they want me to agree to. So I mean, it's a technical, challenging world for some people who they got a lot going on in their lives, and reading a 40-page document may not be the top of the list.
But we also want to acknowledge that there are circumstances where someone chose not to report.
Yes.
They intentionally chose not to. That is fraudulent. And when we make those referrals and they go over to Michelle's office and Jeff reviews them and he does his investigative work and he does his interviews, then that's the process that he goes through to determine, was it intentional or wasn't it intentional? And I think his success rate in those conversations about digging into whether something was or wasn't intentional is quite good. He's able to determine when it's intentional versus when it is really like, I just didn't realize. And then using that opportunity to educate people to make sure that they're reporting.
And I think that was important there with, once it does get to the fraud investigator and Jeff looks through those cases, there's a lot of consulting going on in our office. And so even, even if it can be prosecuted, we have a lot of discretion, right? And so as prosecutors, we're looking for that, what can we prove and can we have success with jurors or the fact finder? So a lot of the work that's still done there's fraud, and Jeff's been submitting a number of cases to the prosecutors. We've resolved a lot of them, which we do. 90% of cases plead or whatever. And there's ways we can do that. Other discretion we can use with, we'll just say a stay of adjudication or things like that to get the money up front. But I will say we've had quite a few big cases in the last few years, and we've actually been successful collecting some pretty big dollars of cases that you'll recognize. But I think I'm going to save those highlights for when we come in after the first of the year to talk about the actual dollars that have been brought back in by restitution, court orders, or confessions of judgment, which we'll talk about. There's another way we can collect money besides just prosecuting as well. So I think if we save some of that, the only other thing, Deb, I thought was important is when this conversation prompted to come for the public, I think too, and for important for them as well as the commissioners to know, a lot of what fraud is though, is not just county, it's state. And so some of what I think we wanted to clarify was there are programs that are what we are responsible for. And then there are certainly some that DHS and others are responsible for. And so we work a lot with that. So I'll just, a couple of easy examples, and Jeff, please correct me or any of you out there if I'm wrong, but when we're talking about MFIP, Minnesota Food and so we have that program, we have SNAP benefits, and we have like medical assistance. So there's different ones we handle. We recoup for the state. If we get restitution or ordered, it goes back to the state, arguably in the county. But there are a number of programs. PCA is a huge one. And things like daycare and that, we do parts of it, but they're like, that's not the eligibility workers here doing those referrals. I will say that's an area that could be improved upon though. We don't see many referrals there. We don't know why, but it's not something I can do with our workers to get those. PCA, we've had some big cases recently with that, but the Attorney General's office in this state go after some of those. So I think some of the fraud, just so we're clear, and some of the programs I think that have been in the limelight lately have been ones that the county is not responsible for, specifically like Feeding America, and some of the Feeding Our Future, and all of those we are not responsible. So I think that's important though. We do what we can. We weed it out. We do the prevention side of work, and then we do the fraud part of work. There are two sides of it. Both are important because the more prevention we do, I think, and avoid it, it gets more money into the hands of those that need it. And then those that did take and do the fraudulent work, we will prosecute and get the money back, hopefully. And we've been pretty successful with that, which hasn't always been the case with probation and restitution.
So the next slide that you have in front of you is a Department of Human Services website that has been stood up in relationship to fraud. In the past, for the economic assistance programs at the local level, we've done the process that we've talked about. When we talk about some of the other kinds of programs that we administer, we have used the program integrity. We've made some reports there in the past, not recent past, but in the past. Now that has been stood up as a website that anybody can go, and if they suspect fraud, this is a space to make that report. And we have been talking about, this is, again, it's a new site, but we've been talking about linking it from our website so that if someone sees it on our website, they can the link and it will take them to this DHS page. Additionally, if someone suspects fraud locally, it is something that can be reported either to our office or to Jeff directly.
That's good.
With that,
Commissioner,
any other questions?
I got one. Go ahead. COVID money. Can we still go back and look at those? The guys that got COVID money back in 2021 or whatever? Can we go still look and make sure that those guys are all up and up?
Shaking their heads back there, they're going like this.
So the COVID money didn't run through Human Services, so I can't really answer the question. I don't know if that's the
There'd be another state one.
Or some kind.
Federal.
The county did receive some ARPA money. And we have been meeting all the requirements because there are reporting requirements for that. And
Right.
so we've been submitting the reports, I think they're quarterly, and the money has to be expended, I believe, through the end of this year. But yeah, if we had any concerns, some of it ran through our CDA to help our local businesses.
Yeah.
And various other programs. And so certainly we could, I mean, that's part of our audit too. But we could certainly, I could check back with Amy.
But to your point, most of the COVID money the county got
Mhm.
was, we turned around and expended it out. We were allowed to use some of it for county budget, revenue recapture, or
We
whatever it
used
was
some of it for
called.
revenue recapture.
Yeah,
We use some of it to fund a social worker in our jail, some of it to fund a solid waste project. A lot of it did go out into local businesses, some education pieces, that sort of thing.
yeah. So most of that money, I think I think the current reference is this feeding your future or whatever it is that's made the news late, huge news lately. That was never touched the county at all.
No.
Go ahead, Sean. I'm
I
sorry.
was going to make a comment. I just thank you so much for pulling this together, all of you. And it's so important for the taxpayer to understand the steps that you guys are taking. So really appreciate you outlining that. And is there anything from the board, any resources or anything like that that you can think of that?
So we'll link this page that was just on the screen on the county website. If folks are asking questions of you, if your constituents are asking questions of you, that would be a great link for them to hit and go read that information. It's not just here's a form to fill out. There's a lot of information on that website that people can read. And if they have suspected fraud, they think that something might be, that's a place for them to be able to make that referral if it's a larger, more statewide. If someone, we all think we maybe know something about the people who live next door, but we likely don't know everything about their situation. But if somebody has a concern about fraud, they can make a report. Community reports are accepted. They can either be called into our department or called directly to Jeff.
And he does get those calls and weeds through them and then works with the
And-
agency. So.
And I suspect
Absolutely.
that sometimes Jeff's probably already,
Nobody knows what the attorney's office is working on at the time.
with things, so it might be a phone call and Jeff probably can't say, but yeah, we're aware of the complaint on that one or something like that, so that people go, oh, okay.
And two other important points I just thought of. Jeff does also we do have quarterly meetings with law enforcement called intel meetings. They all get together, share information. So
Sure.
again, if there's suspicions there or information that's relevant, that is shared. And then another important thing is part of the FPI program, and that is random draws of cases as well. So if he gets caught up on referrals that are actually coming, one of the other good things to do, right, is kind of like auditing. You look at
Sure.
cases and see, and that's part of the prevention side of it is if we're making mistakes here or we see a pattern of something, to correct it before it gets out of hand.
Right.
And so there are some other internal things in place, I would say, that I think everybody should know is happening, and we've been doing that for a while.
I do think it would be helpful to point the public to the news site that the Department of Human
Very much so.
Services has put up.
Put a press release on or something.
Yeah.
Biggest
right.
question I'm getting is, everybody's reading the news, obviously, and they see $1 billion in Minnesota. They don't believe it's all around the cities, so they figure it trickles out to Arterial County too. So we have to be part of that money. This all can't be over there in the cities. So they're telling me that there must be something going on in Arterial County too. So that's,
Well, the one, I think he's been charged. Abdi Dul has been charged, right? That's public information.
Yep.
Graduated from Pelican Rapids.
Yeah.
Cool. So I mean, obviously you associate, then it's not just all in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Well, my hope was by doing this, we could help alleviate some of that.
Yeah.
Some of that concern throughout the county. So again, thank you.
And then remember, we are like the whole point of coming back, which was a thing I think our agencies did previous. COVID kind of threw us off. And then the numbers were because of some of the issues we were having with the state. What we could do, there was a pause in coming to you with that, but I think it's good to get back to coming to the board every year to make sure the public and what is being done by the workers. And here's all the work they do. Here's actually what it looks like when it comes back to the county too. Right.
One of the things that we literally got the bulletin last week for lifting the overpayments on medical assistance. Up until now, that overpayment process we weren't able to do. And so that's been lifted. That was a piece of that of COVID waivers, but that's finally been lifted. So I think when Jeff and Karen and Sue and Michelle put that report together, the recapture of the medical assistance dollars is likely not going to be where it will be in another year's time or the year after that.
So they
Because we weren't
just had to
able
start
do it.
reporting.
No, they've been
They just-
reporting, but we weren't able
To get the
to
dollar.
assign the overpayment.
Ah,
So now we can go. Now we
got
can.
it.
It will change. So we'll need to clarify that for you.
And that-
That's why we thought it was important. And then also here we go for the future. Here's what we can do different.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Question.
Go ahead, Commissioner
The
Morris.
Commissioner of Human Services has a responsibility to establish fraud prevention training programs. How does that translate down to the county? I mean, are you familiar with how that plays out?
I don't know. Maybe Jeff can, I mean, we're working with OIG and law. Another important piece, Jeff is participating in an FBI monthly meeting group with that fraud team at the state. And so he's getting all this information constantly, right, Jeff? I don't know if there's something you want to share with Mr. Morris here.
Well, we, like she said, we do like, bi-monthly training with the state. The state does, or it's every other month we do a meeting. We bring topics to them. The state answers our questions for, 'cause not only are eligibility workers new to fraud investigations, there's also fraud investigators that are brand new that don't really understand the job either. So everyone brings questions. It's an open forum. We do that every other month. Then we also do the trainings. And anytime we have questions, we can send it to our Department of Human Services. We're fortunate that we had Crystal Herman that used to work here and now works for the state. So we have communication with her quite a bit. And we use that resource, and she's very, very easy to get a hold of and very knowledgeable on the fraud programs. So,
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, if I can take that and add to it, we're also very fortunate that Jeff spent some time in Human Services before he took the fraud investigator role. So he is well versed and knows the programs, knows the staff. That has just been a tremendous asset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Moving in the right direction, but we'll bring back more, and Jeff and Karen and the team will be back hopefully January, February sometime, late. Whenever we can get the numbers so they make.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank
That
you to
was
staff too.
great.
Thanks for all
Yeah,
you do.
thanks for all the work you do. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks, guys.
Lots of coffee talk out there.
Yeah.
That
No, we just get this.
have no evidence, no proof, but
That, you know.
Right on.
So anything more, Michelle? Thank you. Nicole? All right, so if there's no more business before the board today, I am going to adjourn the meeting for December 16th, 2025. Drainage Authority in 5.
5 minutes.
Good morning. This is the Drainage Authority meeting for Otter County, December 16th, 2025. We have before us a proposed agenda, which consists of the consent agenda. So I was looking for another page and there's not one. So with that, the only items on the agenda are the meeting minutes from December 2nd and the warrants of bills for today. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda along with the consent agenda.
So moved.
Sullivan moved.
Second.
Mortensen seconds. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Having concluded all of the business on the Drainage Authority meeting, the Drainage Authority for Otter Tail County for December 16th, 2025 is hereby adjourned.